anything like Gabriolas. You'll pardon me if I get any protocols messed up. I'm certainly not used to any of this sort of thing. But I've been to many, many ceremonies, and I suspect I'll be walking away with tears from this one. I was asked to present Deborah as somebody from, on behalf of the Commons, the Gabriola Commons, because of the work Deborah has done at the Commons. I've known Deborah for 30 years, and she's done a lot of work at the Commons, but let me tell you, she has done a lot of work for this entire community. It's endless work for this community. And I thought, well, I wonder if anybody could count how many hours she's putting in. And I thought, who counts? When you're doing it for the community, you don't count, you just do. And it's a joy. I have sitting before me someone who you may see is small and meek, but boy, would you be mistaken if you tried to take that attitude towards Deborah. I have to tell one funny little story, and that is whenever we have meetings, Deborah will be amongst the participants, and there will be raging talk around the tables, and Deborah will be very quiet. And now and again, if you look carefully, this little hand will go up like this and wave. And if you ignore that hand, it's at your peril. And whenever Deborah did that, you knew there was going to be a wisdom that would come from that. Always a wisdom that would come from Deborah for whatever we were doing in the community. Somebody even said, matter of fact, it was Susan Yates who said to me once, Deborah, she's my brain. And I think, yes, Deborah is the brain of a lot of people. I am certainly going to Deborah whenever I have any queries or questions, not just about the Commons, but darn near anything. I did wonder at first why the moniker, if you will, of something to do with ecology was to be what Deborah represents, if you will. And I thought about that, I expect an ecologist to be sitting up in front of me when I talk about ecology, but not a Deborah Ferens, who is, I think, of more of economy and money, quite frankly. And then it dawned on me, without the ecology, there is no economy. And the kind of economy that we have foisted upon ourselves over time has been, quite frankly, very destructive, very painfully destructive, and continues to be that way. And somebody like Deborah, when she's speaking, I don't even know if she realizes it or not, because Deborah's worked with monies all her life, is that the economy that she basically puts forward is like what is more traditionally known, as I understand it, as a gift economy. An economy that is not something that tears from the earth, but works with the earth. And that is, I think, the nub of what Deborah is from, is where she is from. I won't go on. There are many other speakers. Thank you.
I get the comedian of the lot. Likewise, what a challenge for us to stand here and try and put in a few minutes, because we were given timelines, on what these people have contributed. And is it emotional? It is without question that. Nick and Jenny moved to the island, well, they bought their house in 91 and moved here in 98. Since then, we've got, there we go. Nick has been involved in the Gabriola Conservation Society, the Groundwater Management Society, the Gabriola Lands and Trail Trust, the Museum and Historical Society, the Stream Keepers, the Community Hall. He has written many articles in an effort to advise the RDN. That might get a laugh. And has quite often been the only member of the public at a meeting of the Islands Trust, along with my mother, I think. Nick is interested in both human and environmental history. He studies how living organisms, from humans to microbes, have interacted with one another and with their physical environment. How plants, animals, the air, water, rock, soil balances to sustain life on our little island. In his articles in the Shale magazine, and those cataloged in his online journal entitled Trailings. He takes us with him as he goes down wonderful rabbit holes of discovery in every direction of our island he takes us. He studies and discovers with delight and then shares with us with the same enthusiasm his findings. From Gabriola's shape to the evidence of the Ice Age here, to GPS measurements of our island's land movement, the geometry of weathering on our sandstones, to climate change, to the origin of place names, to the Spanish explorers, and to the petroglyphs, including their use by surveyors, to mention a tiny few of the topics he has studied. His personality and enthusiasm with which he discovers is contagious. He has encouraged so many others to research and write up their interests, which has resulted in so much more writing about our island by others like Mom, Phyllis, Barry Humphreys, Linda Poulton, Joyce White, and more and more. His article is about why there are 2 tides a day. He starts by saying, "This isn't the easiest of questions to answer, but here's my best shot at it. It's allowing us mere readers to be okay, not quite understanding, but let's give it a try. Let's see what we can figure out." Or many of us recall the discussions about Tuxedo Goop. If you followed his articles, you learned as he learned. As an election is on the horizon, he studies the science of voting on Gabriola. But wait, Nick even dares to tackle the study of the science of controversy on our little island, which, as we know, abounds in the history of this island. Nick is detailed, quietly returning day after day, week after week, and year after year to the same spot. Which some of his work teaches us about today. There is just as much work that is documentation of about details that will be useful in the future. Over the years, many of us, I have seen Nick, walking carefully, thoughtfully along, with some sort of electronic something in his hand, I don't know, measuring something. Examples would be about the 707 Community Park and the Coates Marsh checklists. Every single quarter for the last over 15 years, he has documented about compiled lists about the species he's inventoried on those wanderings. He still monitors the critters in the marsh, Coates Marsh, and he has a strong view about the role of the beaver, if you want to read about that. When asking other Gabriolans close to Nick for their thoughts, I received this. Wherever he lives, whether here on Gabriola Island in his maturity or skiing solo across the Alps, as a young man working as an electronic engineer in southern Germany, or as a young child freely roaming rural Berkshire's woods, fields in the UK, Nick has always roamed the countryside, most usually alone, studying small details in the natural world. He loves to go repeatedly to the same area, noting the changes, recording what he sees, and immersing himself in the detail and changing abundance. We all learn from what he watches and appreciate his writer's joy in sharing what he learns. He relishes the details and the abundance and brings his engineer's mind to try and understand what he sees. Here on Gabriola, he has enormous respect for those who have left widespread evidence in many petroglyphs of their deep knowledge and observational skills concerning the natural world. Nick, thank you for all that you have studied, documented, and taught us about this wonderful island.
Oh, hello everybody. I'm here on behalf of Growls, which has been such a wonderful organization on our island for so long. And this beautiful woman in front of me is one of the founding mothers of our beautiful Growls, Gabriola Rescue of Wildlife Society, and we're so grateful for all the work that's been done over the years. So I'm gonna read a little bio and then just say a little personal love for Dar. Dar was born and raised in Saskatoon, loving the freedom of prairies and big skies. In her 20s, Dar moved to Gabriola with her hubby, buying 7 acres of forest to build a log house and raise a family. Here, she had 2 beautiful children, Hayden and Spencer. Having children politicized Dar, and she became a self-proclaimed premature raging granny, trying to change the government policies that work to destroy our natural world. The mass non-violent arrests in Clayoquot, 1993 and 94, bringing global attention to the destruction of old growth seemed an effective way to work. Dar was arrested. Thank you, Dar. The trial and convictions were a long and costly process. She realized that with 2 young children, it wasn't helpful to them at that time if Mom was in jail, even though she was trying to make the world a better place for them. What a conundrum. This being one of the main reasons Dar and Michelle McMillan started Growls around 1992. With no environmental groups in Gabriola at that time, it felt like a meaningful way to help protect our environment through wildlife. Growls was the idea sprouted over cups of coffee of direct action, helping wildlife in distress and the people who encountered them. It was also to educate the Gabriola community about our continued invasive colonizing non-native plants and the increasing loss of habitat for our wild. Learning to live with our exquisite, precious natural world by acting locally, Growls began as a tiny group. Funded by a $500 annual budget by an anonymous donor, Mike Phillips, we found out later, I guess. What a great man. And they would have disbanded after Michelle left, if not for Liz joining while she was working full-time in Victoria. So we have 2 people to honor today, but personally, this woman in front of me, Darlene Nace, has been an incredible inspiration to me to work with the wild of Gabriola. I've also been a huge fan of wildlife since I was a little girl. And when Dar was like, Pam, you've got some fervor in you, come please join the board, join Growls. And just inspiring me to work also just like she did, and all the stories that she's told me over the years. And I even got a couple of rescues in with this amazing woman who just keeps on going and going and going. She sometimes is like, I need to step away. No, Dar, she keeps on keeping on because Growls needs her. We need all of you. We are a community organization and all of us matter, and all of us are here to steward. And we thank Dar very much for starting the stewarding of the wildlife of Gabriola.
Thank you. It's very much an honor for me to be here today presenting Rob, and I know it's an honor for Rob as well. Rob moved to Gabriola Island in 2010 after a 30-year career as a forest research scientist, and he and his wife Susan were returning to the West Coast where they had both been born and raised. Soon after arriving, Rob joined the board of the Gabriola Land and Trails Trust, which was a natural fit for his skills and passion. He served in several roles, including chair of the Trails Committee, chair of the Conservation Committee, and president from 2019 to 2023. Although land conservation had always been central to Galt's mandate, during his 4-year term as president, Rob made this a higher priority, and Galt adopted a conservation-focused strategic plan and strengthened partnerships with the RDN, Islands Trust Conservancy, and BC Parks. Under Rob's leadership, new committees were created to focus on conservation, invasive plant removal, habitat restoration. With Rob's guidance, Galt advocated for and helped fund several new protected areas in the Gabriola Trust area, and became co-covenant holders on 2 new conservation covenants. Rob's passion and commitment was particularly evident in the time that he spent gathering signatures for the Honeysuckle Woods petition. Rob and Sue had rewilded their property after the construction of their home, so he promoted the launch of a Nature Stewards program to encourage private landholders to protect natural habitat. Galt also developed community engagement and education initiatives to foster a local conservation ethic and encourage Gabriolans to tread lightly on the land. As president and since, Rob advocated for stronger ecosystem protections in the Islands Trust policy statement, for greater Islands Trust authority, and more effectively fulfill its preserve and protect mandate. Rob definitely leads by example, and Galt and the whole island has definitely benefited from that leadership.
Beloved community, I am honored to present to you my friend of 40 years, Phyllis Parham Reeve. Known to many of us as a gatherer of people, a creator and supporter of literature, music, and history, a fine wordsmith, and a matriarch of admirable strength and wisdom. Phyllis was born in Fiji in 1938, raised in Quebec with an Anglophone heritage, which she both cherishes and critiques. She studied at Bishop's and Concordia in Quebec and at UBC. In Vancouver, she and her husband Ted raised 5 children, 2 of whom now solidly reside as very engaged citizens on Gabriola. In 1987, Phyllis and Ted moved to a new home and a business with a venerable history, Pages on Silver Bay. I thought perhaps that was when and where I first met Phyllis, because we are alike in our reverence for music and stories, and the Sandstone Studio at Pages Resort was a haven for Gabriolans to enjoy regular music concerts, book launches, and art events for 3 decades. Attending these events was every bit as good as going to something similar in Vancouver or Victoria, but with more interesting hosts, a friendlier audience, and a beautiful venue looking out across bookshelves, paintings, and a grand piano to Silver Bay. However, it was actually at a political meeting where I first met Phyllis, who launched herself into local politics by bravely attending a ratepayers meeting. You've all heard the maxim, the personal is political. And one thing I can attest to is that when politics got too personal for me, Phyllis and her husband Ted adroitly gathered the troops to lend steadfast support. She still does that, 35 years later, as my friend, and sometimes my co-conspirator. My co-brain's over there. She takes time to learn the facts, convey them with truth, and share them in her desire to build a good community. As a librarian and archivist, Phyllis nurtures a commitment to preserving and connecting memories, whether they be personal, family, or community. Librarians have inquiring minds, and they want others to be curious too. And so, when Phyllis and her family moved to her new Gabriola home, she sought stories from the Page family. Their references to the Koyama family displaced during World War II led to more searching, including in the museum journal Shale, treasured by so many of us who revere its scholarly, eclectic, and eminently readable contents. And I have to show you Shale number 1 here. It is probably the most prized treasure in my entire bookshelf. And it was Nick Doe who gave it to me. Phyllis eventually was able to contact Yoshiro Koyama, and a splendid gathering in September 2022 celebrated the meeting of the Koyama, Page, and Reeve families on the site of the original fish camp. That story continues with the current museum exhibit Omoidi, and includes the Shindy family who owned the Sunrise Sawmill near Law Point. The mobile gammon remains at Pages Inn on the north side of Silver Bay. The inn and the resort have torii gates at the top of the dock ramps, preserving photographs to honor the previous buildings and industries and the families who are so important to Gabriola's history. Phyllis Parham Reeve, thank you for your commitment to the history, culture, and well-being of our island home.
Our beloved Liz. So some of the things you might not know from before her Growls work, she had quite a career. And after an exciting career behind the desk and then climbing telephone poles for BC Tel, Liz Sayose has been a wildlife and environmental advocate on Gabriola Island for over 30 years. Liz has been involved in various community initiatives and activities promoting wildlife protection. In the early 90s, she helped to eliminate Gabriola's feral cat problem by working to capture, spay, neuter, and adopt out members of the colonies as part of what became Cats Alive. generations a small wild creatures thanker. Thanks, Liz. She has been a pillar of the Gabriola Rescue of Wildlife Society, Growls, to which she has devoted her time, her passion, and her creativity over 3 decades. Her work as a paramedic on Gabriola gave her invaluable skills in handling emergencies and caring for animals. In addition to her active involvement in rescuing wildlife in distress and training others in rescue techniques, Liz has made it her mission to educate community members of all ages about our local wildlife and how to respect and support it. She has been a part of Growl's public face at fairs, open houses, Oceans Day, and has made many presentations at the campgrounds, the school, and the library. She has a particular skill in connecting with children, and those she has reached will surely carry her message on. Liz was the leader of the Gabriola Community Bat Program until this year and regularly led the yearly bat monitoring counts and organized Bat Week in the fall. We love our bats. For many years, she authored a monthly article in the local newspaper on behalf of Growls, informing their readership about current life cycle phenomena of local fauna and what to be on the watch for. Liz's public education initiatives regarding local wildlife have been instrumental in increasing awareness of local ecosystems and wildlife on Gabriola Island. And on a personal note, I feel incredibly grateful to have known Liz for 18 years now. First meeting her when I worked at Artworks, a shop she regularly visited, being an incredible supporter of the arts and the artists on Gabriola. In 2019, I joined the Growls board and got to know Liz on a whole new level, earning a different level of respect from me. The devotion she had to the wild of Gabriola and her passion to educate our community, young and old, on how to coexist with the amazing fauna we are blessed to live amongst. In 2021, she helped me greatly as I navigated my new role as dispatch back then and how important that role was. "We are 911 for the wild, Pam," she would often say to me, and I took that very seriously. I love and respect Liz a great deal as a mentor and friend. Hajka Liz for your love and stewarding of the wild and on surrounding Gabriola. I love you.
C'tasi, you've been coming to Gabriola for many decades, and I will always start with the times that you've been here for the most difficult, racist conversations in our community. And I know the people who are here, the work of the museum and the Arts Council both to buttress us against that, and your C'tasi, your gift to always come back and remind us to honor the elders, that we're doing this in community. Every one of you I just treasure. Deborah Ferrens and I share a birthday, and we were island trustees together for a term, working intimately together. So much of what I know about Gabriola is from Nick Doe. Dar Mace, we fighting oil tankers, and there is not a natural gas pipeline through the Southern Gulf Islands, and there's not a natural gas plant at Duke Point because the community rose up against that. Dar put heart and soul into that work and did a whole master's thesis. You can read the whole citizen story. Rob and all the leadership with Galt, we didn't have a Land and Trails Trust until, how many years has it been now? 30, 25 years, something like that. Like, it's hard to imagine. Gabriola went from 2.5% protected to 20 plus, our Gabriola area, because of citizen action and people that bring their professionalism, their professional careers to apply them to community work. So much of the storytelling and convening of the arts has happened in Ted and Phyllis's living room and studio. The focus of Gabriola artists and storytelling, because you created a platform for publishing. And Liz, I can't say enough, from pulling broken skateboarders out of the ditch to rescuing blue healers who wouldn't have a chance otherwise, to of course the incredible, your puppet shows for kids, everybody who grew up knowing the difference between a sea otter and a river otter because of your puppet shows. No, it's just an extraordinary gift for all of us in community to with the museum's leadership and with C'tasi's determination. All of us will never forget the honoring we've seen today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you all for coming out today. Particular congratulations to the honorees, and a special thanks to C'tasi for initiating this with Brenda and making it happen. It's easy for us to think about our elders as being our Snunyeymuxw elders, but you're proof positive that the wisdom comes from everybody, and it comes from you, and I want to thank you for your contributions. I also want to thank all of us. One of my first experiences came to mind when somebody mentioned the ratepayers in talking about Phyllis, and I have to tell you that my first experience moving here to Gabriola was that terrible ratepayers meeting down at the Aggie Hall 20 some odd years ago. And the reason I'm mentioning this is not to dwell on the negative, but to point out the positive. Because given the horror of the ratepayers meeting back then, and the transition we have made to right now is remarkable. And I think we all owe ourselves a congratulations for making that switch as well. I see many of the same faces at Breaking Bannock events, but always some new people as well. And I want to thank you all for telling your friends, come on out, come to the museum, let's work in collaboration, because that's what we do best. In terms of all of the honorees, I want to thank you for taking time out of what I know is a busy time in your lives, and coming here to honor the museum and to pay tribute to the work that C'tasi does here for us every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. She's over here to help us move on and to make this a more just and a more loving community than it already is, and that's substantial. Thank you very much. Heichka.
Wow, what an honor it is to witness these beautiful community members that we are all so proud of. The work that you do is going to live long, long, long past your physical presence here. You've left legacy in writings, in changed policies, in totally new groups that are informing and educating the next generation. What I see in each one of you is how detail-oriented and the connections that you make to all the creatures and the importance of the ecosystem and its biodiversity to teach us. And you make those connections with the natural world, and then you communicate that to the rest of the broader community so we can engage and we can follow you. You're all researchers, you're all passionate, you're advocates for those who do not have a voice, and that is what's going to outlast us. We want a healthier world for our children and for the sake of the natural world. So I see in this group of 6 beautiful people, you are continuing the legacy of stewardship that Snuneymuxw and Sarlican ancestors started long before us. And you see the importance of the natural world and what it has to teach us. So I just, your stories are what's important, and they will live beyond all of us. And so thank you so much for your service, your keen eye of detail, and your loving hearts. You're also wonderful.